going to talk about the 4 main things that people always ask me when it comes to my eating habits. And those things include intermittent fasting, intuitive eating, reverse dieting, and now lately, why I went meat-free. So I'll start with intermittent fasting because it is the one that is the shortest and I have the least amount of reasons for why I do it. Intermittent fasting is the idea that you eat within a window. For some people, that window is 8 hours a day. For some people, that window is 10 hours a day. Most people eat for 16 hours in a day and they sleep for 8 hours in a day. So Martin Berkhan, he came up with this idea and he paired it with something that he calls lean gains, which is where you really kind of cycle through calories day after day based upon your training volume. And this idea that you train fasted, you break your fast after you train. There's a lot of science behind this, especially when you pair it with lean gains. I do not do intermittent fasting for any purposes of actually changing my body or any physiological purposes. I do intermittent fasting purely for psychological reasons. When I was struggling with binge eating, I noticed that my binges were most common at nighttime. I would eat all my calories throughout the day, oftentimes hoarding a lot of my carbs until the end of the day. And then I would overeat and binge through the night. So intermittent fasting was a way for me to start eating at a particular time and then give myself a time when I was gonna cut off my eating. This kind of structure helped me really see what my binge problems were and why I was binging, and having that time limit really helped me not stay in the kitchen after 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. so that I actually eventually stopped binging throughout the evening. So now my intermittent fasting window is from around 3 p.m. until like 11 or 12 p.m. I don't start eating until 3. There's a lot of reasons for this. I've never been a breakfast eater. I've never liked breakfast. I physically feel ill if I eat before noon, especially now. I could never eat before noon. I've experimented with various different eating windows. Sometimes I used to break my fast at noon. Sometimes I used to break my fast at 1 or 2. What really works for me now is eating at 3, eating until 11. I really like it. I like actually eating the bulk of my calories from the hours of around 7 until 10. I just eat nonstop meals because that's what I like. I have just at that point come home from training or come home from my day of work, and I really want to sit there and eat all my meals. I like having a lot of volume all at one time. You've got to find what works for you. Some people, that's just not feasible for their work schedule and their training schedule. So again, I do not do it for physiological reasons. I do it purely for psychological reasons, and I really prefer it. Okay, so let me move on to intuitive eating. In November, I stopped cutting, and I made the decision in the new year to do a form of intuitive eating. Basically, I have been eating the same meals. I like eating consistent meals, the same staple meals, 2 desserts, 2 protein bars, another snack, a dairy snack like yogurt or cottage cheese. And I eat those same things every single day. It's just what I'm used to. I like having that consistency. I'm not a big fan of eating out. It's just how I am. And so it really works for me to do intuitive eating in the sense that I'm just still eating the same calories or the same meals with those calories every single day to around a maintenance level. I don't have to put it in my MyFitnessPal and track it. I don't have to worry about any of those things because I just eat the same meals that I always eat. But intuitive eating for me has also been a trying process and an experimental process where I've actually had to figure out, okay, so normally I'd be eating my 2 desserts tonight, but instead I'm gonna go and get some ice cream and just sub it in. I really don't know what the exact macros or exact calories would be, but I know that it'd probably equate to the 2 desserts that I was about to have. So I can make an easy sub in. So if you are someone who has tracked macros for so long that you know the macros that are in something like the back of your hand, I really recommend that you stop tracking everything in MyFitnessPal and instead track it in your head. Again, some people, for them, intuitive eating is gonna be something where they no longer weigh anything, they no longer even think about the calories, they just eat and they listen to their body's cravings and all of that. That works for some people, but my version of intuitive eating means that I still know the types of foods that I'm eating. I still eat the same consistent foods that I always eat, but now I don't have to be so over diligent with tracking it all the time. So that leads me into what I have done in the past several months since I stopped my cut. I am not a proponent of reverse dieting. Now, there are many people who believe that when you cut, metabolism goes down, and then when you want to end your cut, and go back to maintenance, that you need to then reverse diet back to maintenance. Jeff Nippard put together an amazing debate with Layne Norton and Eric Helms and all kinds of other experts in the field, where they had a great conversation about reverse dieting. If you didn't listen to the entire thing, basically, reverse dieting is going to be defined for different people for different reasons. Competitors versus non-competitors, or AKA the person who just cuts just to cut, someone like me. And people have different needs based upon their body type, their age, their weight, their level of leanness, and their goals. But overall, the idea with reverse dieting is that you slowly can increase your BMR and your TDEE by incorporating in slow metabolic adaptations, slow increases in calories, and that you can, while you're coming back from a really extreme cut, then increase your metabolism so that you don't put on any unnecessary fat or that you don't gain unnecessary weight. Now, that may work for some people, but that does not work for me, and let me tell you why. Again, Jeff Nippard has done an amazing video about this, but basically, when I reverse dieted out of my first show and my second show, I slowly incorporated calories in, 10 grams of carbs one week and then 2 extra grams of fats the next week. Well, really what you're doing, and Jeff kind of explains this in his video, is prolonging the period in which cortisol, leptin, ghrelin, and all kinds of other hormones that have been all out of whack. It doesn't matter if you do a flexible dieting prep or not. If you get lean enough, your hormones are gonna be out of whack. But what you're just doing is prolonging that period of your hormones being out of whack. And you are limiting yourself from actually just replenishing your body and re-regulating those hormones. For me, it just caused more problems because eventually, because I was still so over-restricted in how much I was consuming, because I'm still in a deficit, right? You are in a severe deficit, you slowly increase calories, you're still in a deficit. So your hormones are still not being re-regulated. And it just caused me to binge. And I was so hungry and craving, and my body was telling me, hey, we need food. You've been cutting for 30 weeks or however long it's been. I didn't get stage lean this time. I got pretty lean, but not nearly enough to be stage lean. Maybe if I had gone another 6 intensive weeks, I maybe could have walked on stage if that was something I wanted to do. But in any case, this time I made the decision, hey, I'm going right back to maintenance. I am not going to do this reverse dieting thing. I am going to estimate a new maintenance. Of course, this is not the maintenance that I would have been at pre-cut. It's a new estimated maintenance. So for me, I estimated around 1,900 calories. That's probably where my maintenance calories were. And I decided to go straight back to it. This is before I decided to do intuitive eating, so I decided, okay, here are the foods and here are the meals that I need to consume to get me to around 1,900 calories. And since November 1st to today is April 15th, I have gained a total of like 4.5 or 5 pounds. And I've just been eating at maintenance. Some days I eat well over, right? Some days I'm just like, I'm just gonna eat. Some days, especially when I was sick, I probably ate well under, but I've only gained around 4 or 5 pounds over the course of time. And I think now I'm eating a lot more than I was earlier on. But I feel stronger, I'm definitely gaining muscle, or at least I'm seeing muscle in new ways I didn't even see when I was on my cut. So there's a lot that's written about this, but I wanted to quote a girl that, her name is Mary O'Donnell, and she's from the XX Fitness group online. And let me just read to you sort of what she wrote, because she kind of explains this debate that Layne Norton and Eric Helms had on Jeff Nippard's page. And what she says is, I think that most of the metabolic adaptations that Layne talks about in this video, and in his videos about metabolic damage and reverse dieting and all of that, she says, they're a much bigger factor for people dieting down to stage leanness, essentially a very low body fat, than they are for someone who wants to diet down to even 18% body fat. And that's probably where I personally got to, around 18% body fat at the end of my cut. So I think that handling recovery from a show is a bigger deal than recovery from a diet. Not that it's different in nature, but it's different in degree. So what's best for the physique or bikini competitor recovering from a show isn't necessarily what's best for someone in this group, and she means XX Fitness, coming to the end of their cut and winding up at around 20% body fat. And she goes on, and something else that Layne talks about, and I think it's very, very important, is that and he recognizes this, is that many people who are coming off of a post-show diet, they are afraid of gaining weight. And Lane even addresses this, that a lot of it is psychological, especially for women. And so this psychological purpose of slowly increasing calories makes them feel much more comfortable. I think in a similar way to my psychological reasons for doing intermittent fasting, doing reverse dieting, slowly increasing calories back to maintenance, may be something that would really work for someone psychologically, make them feel better. For me, that was just not the case. I needed to head back to maintenance so that I could feel my body. Let me explain something else though, and I need to be clear about what reverse dieting actually is. Reverse dieting is when you slowly increase calories from a severe deficit back to maintenance. I am not talking about a bulk. I am not talking about jumping from a severe deficit, say above, 1,500 calories a day, back to a surplus or a bulking sort of level of calories, like 2,200. That is not what I'm saying to do. I do believe that you should do a slow bulk in the same way that you should do a slow cut, right? Meaning that you increase from maintenance to bulking calories, or to you increase your kind of bulking macros very slowly. When we're talking about reverse dieting here, I am specifically talking about severe deficit up to maintenance level, right? A maintenance level where you are neither gaining nor losing weight. So this brings me then to my final point, which is about why I went meat-free. I decided to go meat-free for both passive and active reasons. I decided to go meat-free for both moral and sort of convenience reasons. So what I mean by that is, I realized that the protein macros I want to hit, when you've been tracking macros for an extremely long time, you can't just unknow the macros that are in things, right? And I know for me to be able to maintain satiety and for me to be able to maintain protein synthesis, I want to maintain around 130 to 140 grams of protein a day. That's where I like to be. I realized that I could hit my protein macros without eating meat. I was eating such little meat anyway. I was only eating maybe 6 ounces of chicken a day, and everything else I was eating, all the other protein that I was eating when I was tracking macros, was in the form of protein bars or cottage cheese or Greek yogurt, or I would make all kinds of protein goodies or protein pancakes, to the point that I would oftentimes run out of protein. I had been thinking about going meat-free for a really long time. It was a moral issue for me that I felt like I was ignoring. As a feminist and someone who is very vocal about issues of oppression and issues of injustice, I felt that it was sometimes kind of hypocritical for me to not consider the ways in which animals are oftentimes demoralized and exploited and used and treated extremely poorly. And while I'm not here to get into a debate over animal rights, I do want to explain that my choice to go meat-free, took a lot of time, it took a lot of pining and a lot of critical thought. And what I ended up coming about the conclusion about was, I could buy humanely treated meat, humanely killed meat. It would cost me a lot of money, and that's what I was doing, right? Other than being sponsored by Green Bites Cafe and having them prep my meals for me. Or I could just not eat meat. And therefore, I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's a terrible analogy to use here in terms of animal rights. I could both choose to not eat meat and still fulfill my protein goals, so that's my convenience or passive reasons, but I could also think more critically about my position, to think about sort of the moral values that I have at my core. So again, for me, it was both a moral choice and sort of a convenience choice, and now I really, really enjoy it. I feel so much better not eating meat. Though I am lacto-avo, I eat dairy, I eat eggs. I try to make sure that those things are humanely treated as well. I'm never gonna be completely unproblematic. I do not think that I will go vegan. That's just not something that will work for me. And I know maybe some of you who are watching this see that as hypocritical, but again, I've had to sort of pick my battles and think about what I'm doing. Something that I also am interested in is palm oil and other types of things that are not animal products, but that animals are exploited for in order for us to receive those things. There's a lot of palm oil in many of the protein bars that I consume. So again, it is sort of a conscious every day waking up and thinking about what I'm doing and thinking about how the choices that I make do not exist in a vacuum, but do impact people and animals on a grander scale. I just encourage those of you who are thinking about going meat-free to know that it is very possible for you to, number one, hit your protein goals and be extremely healthy, and number two, really continue to think critically about your position in this world and about the morals and the core values that you have. Just some quick examples of meals that I have that are high in protein, but that are meat-free. I buy Explore Asian mung bean pasta. You always see it in all my meal preps. I eat that every single day because it is extremely high in protein. I also eat meatless crumbles from Light Life pretty much every single day. I eat cottage cheese, I eat Greek yogurt, I supplement with whey protein, and I make sure that I am taking an iron supplement every single day because that's something that I might not be getting other than from maybe leafy greens like kale. So be conscious of the decisions that you make and continue to supplement and continue to listen to your body. If you're feeling fatigued, many times people who go vegetarian, they feel fatigued, then listen to your body and figure out what sorts of minerals, nutrients that you are missing so that you can supplement those things in. I hope that you guys liked this video. If you did like this video, could you please click the like button below? I'd love for you to comment below as well if you have any questions. Please do remember though to be constructive in your comments. I always encourage people, is what you're saying N, necessary, I, inclusive, C, constructive, E, empathetic. So is what you are saying nice? I'd love to form some good dialogue down in the comments, constructive dialogue, things where we are seeing one another's point of view. That's always extremely important to me. Don't want to see arguments and hatred and hive mind hate mentalities. I don't want to see that at all. That's not constructive. It doesn't help anyone. Like the video down below if you want to. Please do. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye guys.